example. So the restaurant that I opened up in Dubai, it took me 9 months to create the menu. Not through inefficiency, but through the fact that the particular type of cooking that I do takes a very long time to develop what these particular techniques are, because these techniques don't exist today. So throughout this next period, I'm in there innovating. I've got food scientists and I've got chefs in there every single day creating these things, obviously with myself. And the idea is that once we believe that we have particular dishes that we feel that people will obviously hopefully love, then that will be the period during this next 6 months where I'll be looking to open the establishment on utilizing social media to allow people to understand that we have a menu that's been put together until that 6-month mark. If we aren't able to open the doors in the next 6 months, then we can't test it, and it's also going to be on this kind of infrequent basis between now and then.
It sounds like you, for lack of a better term, like a test kitchen type of thing. Is that?
Well,
or am I oversimplifying it?
No. I think it's probably a good analogy. I think to help you understand, every restaurant that I've had in the 5 countries that I've had restaurants have always had a test kitchen associated with the main kitchen. This is kind of one and the same in the fact that we're not actually, the doors aren't officially open yet, although we finished construction probably 2.5–3 months ago. So effectively it's a test kitchen, which is a kitchen, right? So it's kind of one and the same.
So I mean, you've developed some menus already, I understand, because of your past experience. Why
Yes.
don't you be able to run a kitchen, as you just proposed, with a test kitchen that you could, on occasion, test with your patrons, different menus, samplings? Because the problem you have is, if you're going to try to do this infrequently, it sounds to me that there'll be periods of time where you're going to be closed to the public while you're doing this while you're developing these menus, and then times you're going to be open.
Right.
Well, the CD license doesn't allow for that. That's the problem. So you may have been able to do that in other countries, but our license doesn't allow for that infrequent openness. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for you to take some of your menus that you've already proven, use as your base menu to bring patrons into the restaurant, and at the same time do your test kitchen to develop those other.
The problem, and I'll give you another very good example. The problem is distraction. So there was a chef who I was working for a period of time. He was the #1 chef in the world, and he said the day that the consumer coming to his restaurant would delay progression of food or hold him back from doing what he wanted to do because he was too distracted, he'd rather close the restaurant than be distracted or have food not progress as fast. So in this particular model, I also say that I'll never serve something in a restaurant that I haven't created in that restaurant. So yes, I could bring back one of the thousands of dishes that I've created in my past, but those are old. So the objective is that everything that we do there has to be brand new, created there at that particular location. So there is obviously there's an extended period of time, and as I mentioned before, there was a 9-month period before I could even open the doors in Dubai of the 7-star hotel.
But your concept doesn't fit within the constraints of the license. That's the problem.
Right.
So we're trying to figure out how you can try to accomplish that.
Right.
And still be able to work on your concepts. So, unless I'm wrong, I don't know how we could approve a license where it's going to allow you that flexibility. Right.
So then the options start motivated.
Well, one option would be, as you initially stated, having a regular kitchen with an associated test kitchen where you do have a base menu where you could be open for the hours of your advertising.
Yep.
You can change your hours for now and then come back and modify your hours later when you're ready to ramp up your new menu. But whatever hours you advertise, you have to be open for those hours. So you may go to, right now, might go to a modified set of hours with a base menu, with the notion that you can go hire one chef that will do your base menu while you and other chefs are developing new menus in some associated kitchen. And every once in a while, allow your patrons to then sample.
Right.
I mean, that's one way of doing it. I just don't know how you're going to be able to run solely a test kitchen and then when you're ready to open to the public,
Is there a limit to that? Is it absurd to say, 1 day per week? Is there a license for a 1 day per
No,
week?
I think you can open as many hours or many days as you want, right? There's no restriction, but you have to be open that time.
Right.
Right, so if you decide you want to do it 3 days a week,
Yeah.
for a specific period of time initially, you can do
Yeah.
that. Or you can limit it to the weekends, if you want to do weekends,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
with the idea at some point in time, once you develop your menu, then you can come back to the commission
Yep.
and reapply for a new set of hours, right?
Okay.
Do that, but you have to be open for whatever hours you get a license for.
Okay. Which is, I think, a challenging part.
Right.
That's not something that I needed for.
So I mean, you could work all week long, and then on weekends,
Yep.
do your samplings if you want, right? And then spend the next week
Mhm.
working on your menu again, and then reopening. I don't know how I don't know if you can survive that way financially, but that's something you have to figure out.
That part's fine because there is, as I mentioned,
Yep.
a bigger part of the business is actually designing these things
Sure.
and scaling across
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that something we need to decide, obviously, right now?
You don't have to.
This is
And we
totally
can continue this matter. I'd like to hear just a little bit more about your background, and then we can go back to ours. But I'd like to hear, because I know when I looked through the file, there just wasn't a lot of information. So if you could tell me a little bit about your background, would be
Perfect.
helpful.
So I'm a chef of 18 years. I started cooking when I was 14 years and 9 months old professionally, obviously given my accent, I'm Australian. Left school early, started my apprenticeship with the Hyatt Hotel. Left Australia when I was 18 because I figured that I had more questions than I could find answers. So I left, moved to London, became executive chef of a fine dining restaurant in Notting Hill by 19 years old. Left London at 21, headed to Dubai, executive chef of a fine dining restaurant in the Shangri-La in Dubai. Then took an internal transfer. The Shangri-La group wanted to create the #1 restaurant in Asia, so I moved to Shanghai for a couple of years. Then went back to Dubai to the 7-star hotel as executive chef of the fine dining restaurant. Then took an opportunity with the #1 chef in the world to take over an innovation lab in Spain. Took over the innovation lab in Spain, did that for 4 years. Then I was approached by an American businessman to see if I was interested in creating a company here in the US to remove the bad stuff from candy. It's in a consumer packaged goods company, so we started the company 4 years ago. Took 50% of the sugar out of candy, increased protein, increased fiber, made them all real, all natural, ended up selling those products in 34,000 stores nationwide. Then, back in October last year, incorporated this company with the mission and the endeavor to A, create brand new dishes, and B, make them healthier and more sustainable for the planet. And now I'm sitting here today.
And how did you find this location?
This particular location was strategically chosen because of its proximity to Harvard and MIT. Also, another couple of organizations I work with, like IDEO and NewView Studio down the road. Proximity is obviously very important with convenience, so I was hoping to get a high level of cross-pollination between these particular intelligent establishments and my own business, because the companies I've had before would always involve intellects from many varied fields to obviously have an impact within the field.
So based on everything I've heard this evening, let me before I do that, are there any members of the public that wish to be heard in this matter?
Yes.
Sir, if you can come forward. Please feel free to have a seat if you'd like.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is James Lin, L-I-N, last name.
What's your last name?
Lin, L-I-N.
L-I-N?
Yes. I own a property right next to the restaurant, 275 Western Avenue. Today, I come out here, the purpose will consider as what's the parking situation. It's all the neighbors, all the resident neighbors. From if that open to the public, then parking will be big trouble. According to the Western Avenue, both sides only probably 4 or 5 meter parking. Other than that, all the permit parking. So by the time you open to the public, all the neighbors probably have no parking space. And as I understand it, they're gonna have the 60 seat or something. So it's considered a 10 car or 11 car. They hard to find a parking space. Even right now, it's 8 o'clock. Myself, if I'm driving up there, I cannot find any parking spot in that area.
Now, do you live next door to?
I always not live in there, but sometimes I gotta go there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so your concern is about the parking in
The
the
parking,
neighborhood?
the parking in the neighborhood. Otherwise, the whole Western Avenue gotta change it from the permit parking to the meter parking. That would be one of the issues. And the second, I talked to a couple of my neighbor. Too bad they did not show up. Last couple weeks ago, they was here, but they did not show up. The beginning, the restaurant, instead of there, we thought that only open for a party or occasionally open, not a daily open restaurant. Like when they have a party, somebody hiding the party, and I mean party place, so they get a party gathering. But right now, it's become the restaurant. So that's something different. We need to know more detail about that.
So you thought initially it was just going to be catering for parties, and
Yes.
not a sit-down restaurant that was open 7 days a week?
That's correct.
What was in the space prior?
It was actually sitting vacant for the last 3
It was
years.
the Ebony Club. The Ebony Club, and then next door was the, I don't know if you know what was there. I think I went to the Ebony Club and then also over to the laundromat that was there.
Right, then they did a whole rebuild.
The whole rebuild, and then
There was a,
condos upstairs.
But it's been vacant for
It's been
3 years.
and there was an application before the board, I think 2 years ago, for
The
an
master,
Indian
yeah.
resident. And that never happened.
The years ago, there always neighborhood bar on there, so not many people there, so it's quite a nice neighbor. But right now, it's open to the public as the restaurant. I just worry that would be very crowded there and a parking issue. Thank you very much. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard in this matter? Any other comments, questions?
I'm Marc Levy, M-R-C-L-E-V-Y. I hadn't heard about this before tonight, but just looking at your past, it just sounds like an incredibly exciting opportunity for Cambridge. It's just part of the innovation that makes Cambridge really special, but often a direction that I don't think Cambridge is especially known for. Lots of great restaurants, but are we, actually, I don't know, innovation in food seems sort of an exciting way to go. So I hope that the parking and that stuff gets worked out.
Thank you. So based on what I've heard this evening, I think I'd like to make a motion to continue this matter, just so I can kind of look at the regs, kind of do some research and some checking around to see how we can make this work for your type of business. So I don't want to give a date until when we continue it, and probably we would let you know if it's approved, but I make a motion that we continue this matter.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So we'll continue, we're gonna continue it, and then we'll let you know when it's back on.
Excellent. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Application Crystal Lunch Incorporated, doing business as Cantab Lounge and Third Rail. Stephen Ramsey, manager, holder of an all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license at 738 Mass Ave, has applied for change of officers, directors, and transfer of stock.